Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhauti Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3, Verse number 5. Gunair Gunan Sabhunjana Atma Pradyotitaihi Prabhu Manyamana Idam Srishtam Atmanam Iha Sajjate Gunair Gunan Sabhunjana Atma Pradyotitaihi Prabhu Manyamana idam srishtam Atmanam iha sajjate Gunair gunan sabhunjana Atma pradyotitaihi prabhu Manyamana idam srishtam Atmanam iha sajjate. Please repeat. Gunair gunan sabhunjana Atitaihi prabhu Yamanam idam srishtam चालू चाहिए माताजीस गुणैर गुणान सबुंजाना Atmanam per word meaning Gunaihi with the modes, the senses. Gunan, the modes, the object of the senses. Saha, he, the individual living being. Bhunjanaha, enjoying. Atma, by the Supreme Soul. Pradyotitaihi, enlivened. Prabhu, the Master. Manyamanaha, thinking. Idam, this. Srishtam, created. Body. Atmanam, as his own self. Iha, in this, sajjate, he becomes entangled. Translation, please repeat with me. The individual living being, the master of the material body, uses his material senses, which have been activated by the super soul, to try to enjoy sense objects composed of the three modes of nature. Thus, he misidentifies the created material body with the unborn eternal self and becomes entangled in the illusory energy of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Srila Prabhupada Ki. In this verse, the living entity is called Prabhu. So, this purport is pretty long and it's philosophical also. So, try to understand as much as possible. In this verse, the living entity is called Prabhu or Master because he is a minute part and parcel of the Supreme Master Krishna. Similarly, in Bhagavad-gita, the Lord has described the living entity as Ishvaraha, the controller. Shariram yadavapnoti yachapyutkramati Ishvaraha grihaitvaitani samyati vayur gandhan ivashayat. The living entity in the material world carries his various conception of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Srila Prabhupada has commented in this purport. Here the living entity is described as Ishvaraha, the controller of his own body. If he likes, he can change the body to a higher grade. And if he likes, he can move to a lower class. Minute independence is there. The change his body undergoes depends upon him. This statement confirms the words Swamatra and Atma Prasiddhaye in text 3 of this chapter. If the Supreme Lord were to interfere with the minute independence of the living entity, there would be no question of the living entities engaging in the loving service of the Lord. Since love implies a spontaneous free choice by the lover, here the word Prabhu indicates that just as a child, having received a toy car from his father, pedals on the sidewalk, imitating the father, who drives an actual car, the living entity pedals around the material universe in the innumerable material bodies selected for him by the Supreme Lord from an assortment of 84 lakh species. Thus, the living entity, infatuated with the false ego of the material body, creates a fearful situation in which he undergoes repeated birth and death, as described in the statement Bhayam Dvitiya Bhinniveshatah Syat, Bhagavatam 11:2-37. Srila Jiva Goswami has given another explanation for this verse. If the word Prabhu is taken to mean the Supreme Lord, the word Gunahi can be understood to mean good qualities. Since Guna can refer to the material modes of nature or to admirable qualities, as in the verse Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana Sarvair Gunais Tatra Samasate Suraha. So this verse would then mean that Lord, by his transcendental qualities, that is Gunaihi, such as mercy, is able to relish the transcendental qualities, that is Gunan, of his pure devotees. Atma Pratyotitaihi would then indicate that by surrendering unto the Lord, who is the reservoir of all good qualities, the pure devotees become similarly endowed with good godly qualities. The words Manyamanam, Idam, Srishtam, Atmanam would indicate that the Lord accepts the body of his pure devotees to be on the same spiritual level as he himself. As indicated in the verse Acharyamam Vijaniyam Na Avamanyeta Karihichit. The Lord is attracted by the loving devotional service of his pure devotees and thus becomes entangled in the network of their loving relationship with him. For example, after the battle of Kurukshetra, when Krishna was leaving for his own city, Dwarka, the loving appeal of Maharaj Yudhishthir forced the Lord to remain for several more weeks in Hastinapur. Similarly, when the elderly gopis of Vrindavan clapped their hands, Krishna would dance like a puppet, keeping time to their rhythm. In relation to this subject matter, Srila Jiva Goswami has quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.68. Sadhavo hridayam mahyam sadhunam hridayam to aham madanyatena jananti naham tebhya managapi. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything about me, and I do not know anyone but them. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the word Prabhu may also be understood as follows. The word pra indicates prakarshena or excessively, and bhu indicates bhavati or taking birth. Thus, Prabhu indicates prakarshena devatiryag adishu bhavatihi saha, or repeatedly taking birth among the demigods, animals, human beings and other forms of life. Confirming the statement by Srila Jiva Goswami concerning the Lord's attachment to the spiritualized body of a pure devotee, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has quoted the following verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antelila 4:192-193. दीक्षा काले भक्त करे आत्म समर्पण सेई काले कृष्ण तारे करे आत्म सम. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders unto the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself. सेई देह करे तार चिदानंदमय अप्राकृत देह तार चरण भजय. When the devotee's body is thus transformed into spiritual existence, the devotee in the transcendental body renders service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshutarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare. Thank you all for assembling here for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. By the blessings of my spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada and the assembled devotees, I would like to speak something about this topic as much as possible, or what I have understood till now. So this chapter, this canto, is very special because it contains Uddhav Gita, and Lord Krishna reveals many confidential knowledge in this particular canto. And particularly this episode is about when Narad Muni visited Vasudeva. He was respectfully received and worshipped by Vasudeva, and then he inquired from Narad Muni. This is the ideal situation where one gets an association of a pure devotee. Then what he has to do? What does a pure devotee like? Different varieties of food, okay, that he likes the most, or inquiring about the spiritual topics regarding Lord Krishna. What likes the most? What do you think? About Krishna or about food? About Krishna. Yat krita Krishna samprashno yayatma suprasiddhati. The soul can be satisfied only while inquiring about Lord Krishna and hearing about Lord Krishna. Vasudeva katha prashna trin punati hit. 3 people gets benefited by hearing about Vasudeva. Who are the 3 people? One who is delivering the lecture. and the second one who is hearing it, and the third one is one who inquires about it. Prachakam Shrotrims, one who is asking about Vasudev and one who is hearing about it. And Vaktaram, one who is delivering the lecture. So 3 people gets benefit. So ideally here also Narad Muni was inquired by Vasudev regarding the devotional service of Lord. And then Narad Muni, he cited a history, an ancient history, wherein the 9 Yogendras were inquired by Maharaj Nimi. And what were their inquiries? There were several questions asked by them, by Maharaj Nimi. What is the highest duty of human life? What are the symptoms of pure devotee? What are the different classes of devotees? What is Maya? What is the illusory energy of the Lord? How the illusory energy bounds the living entity? And in Kali Yuga, Lord will appear in which form? So many regarding these things, many questions were asked. And this particular verse is about the question, what is Maya and how the Maya bounds a living entity. That is the topic here asked. And in Srimad Bhagavatam 2nd canto, there is a verse, Mayam varanayato amushya ishvarasya anumoditah Shravanavatah Shraddhaya Nityam Mayayatmana Muhyati. One who hears about the illusory potency of Lord Krishna and his different energies with respect and with faith, Shraddhaya, Shravanavataya, Nityam, regularly he is hearing about Lord's different energies and illusory energy also. That person, Mayayatmana Muhyati, he will never be bound by Maya. One who hears about the different energies of the Lord with respect and with faith, that person will never be falling in Maya. That is written in Srimad Bhagavatam 2nd canto. So we are very fortunate by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and especially this verse, this purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. It's not just written by the disciples, but they have quoted from the Acharyas commentaries like Srila Juhu Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and others. So this purport, wherein it's said that the individual living being is the master of the material body, uses his material senses. So here the living entity is called as Ishvaraha. But actually Ishvaraha Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Lord Govinda, Lord Krishna is the real Ishvaraha. But in the material world, there Ishvara means a living entity. Why? Because living entity wants to enjoy. He considers himself as the enjoyer in the material world. That is the basic principle why he is suffering in the material world. And that's why even he is called as Ishvaraha. Like for example, the word Purusha is called for both man as well as woman sometimes. In which context? When the man and woman thinks themselves are enjoyer. Similarly here, the Ishvara can be used for Lord as well as for the living entity. Now the first explanation is, it's in this context that the Ishvara is living entity. So the living entity in the material world consider himself as the enjoyer. And in Bhagavad-gita there is a verse, Gatir Bharata Prabhu Sakshi Nivahasah Sharanam Suhrit Prabhava Pralayasthanam Nidhanam Bijam Avyayam. Actually the real Lord, the Sakshi, the witness, the destination, the ultimate shelter is the Lord. But the living entity forgets this. And he puts faith on himself and his capabilities. And due to this, considering his own body that that he is Atma, that the body itself is the Atma. Atma means myself. And then he acts for his own pleasure throughout his life. And this leads to various births in different species in this world. And that's what here in the commentary also written, that the living entity is the Ishvara in this context, that he is the controller of his own body. Which body he has to select is actually decided by the living entity himself. Lord is just a facilitator, but the desire or the choice, it depends upon the living entity. Urdhvam gacchanti satvastha madhye tishtanti rajasah jaganna guna vrittista adho gacchanti tamasah. If a living entity wants, he can enjoy material opulence in the heavenly kingdoms. If a living entity wants, he can suffer in the hellish planets. And if the living entity wants, he can stay in this material world also in his next life. Sri Chanakya Pandit says, Janma mrityu yatyepi eka bhunatya ekya shubha shubham narke patanti yatye eka ekopi yanti param gatim. An individual decides whether he has to take birth or not in next life. Janma mrityu के चक्कर में फंसना है नहीं फंसना है. भूनक्ते एक शुभा शुभम, whether he wants to enjoy in the heavenly planets or to suffer in the hellish planets, he is the one who is going to decide. And ekopi yanti param gatim, whether to enter into the Vaikuntha abode, in the spiritual abode of the Lord, that's also decided by whom? The living entity himself. So what the Lord does then? Lord facilitates. Okay? Lord will never force. And here in the purport it is written, if the Lord doesn't give independence to living entity, there is a minute independence, not the wholesome independence is not there. It's a minute independence to choose. That's for example, if I want to travel from Mumbai to Delhi, it's upon me to choose by which mode of transport I want to go. But not just depends on that, I should be having money also accordingly. If I want to go to by a flight, then I should be affording that thing. If I want to go by train, different class there are, AC class and then general compartment or second class. So accordingly I will go what I have, how much money I have. So not just about choice. Like for example, a person may think, I choose to go back to Godhead. But if he doesn't put any tangible efforts, or if he don't have that eligibility to go back to Godhead, then he can never go back to Godhead. SriSriRadhaRasbihariTemple ki, Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Bhagavan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So in the purport it is written that if the Supreme Lord were to interfere with the minute independence of the living entity, there would be no question of the living entities engaging in the loving service of the Lord. So I was talking about the independence. We definitely have a choice whether to go to heavenly abode or to go to supreme abode of the Lord by performing devotional service, or to enter into hellish planets. We definitely have a choice. But at the same time, when we say we have choice, we must put effort in that direction also. Okay? Just because you think that you choose that I want to go back to Godhead. Everyone wants to go back to God. Yes or no? Yes. There will be very pure devotee. They may be thinking that whether to go back to Godhead, whether not to go back to Godhead, it depends upon Krishna. I just want to engage in devotional service of the Lord. But usually, every devotee wants to go back to Godhead. But if we don't put effort, if we don't become eligible for that, that can we go back to Godhead? Yes or no? No. So eligibility is also, actually eligibility comes automatically with the choice. A person who wants to become a doctor, MBBS doctor, if he just thinks, I want to become a doctor, my ambition is to become a doctor, but if he doesn't pass the entrance test, the medical test, or he doesn't admit himself into the college of MBBS, and even if he gets admitted for that, but if he fails to study seriously, then what will happen? Does he will become doctor or not? Yes or no? He will not become. And even if he passes the certificates, if he get the certificate from the college, if he doesn't practice under a senior doctor, then he will not be a successful doctor. Similarly, theory as well as practical. We need to study the scriptures. At the same time, we need to implement the teachings of the scriptures in our own personal life. If we don't do that, then what will be the use of this minute independence which Lord has gifted to us? Okay. Lord has gifted this minute independence, depends upon the choice what to do. So here, if the Supreme Lord were to interfere with the minute independence of the living entity, there would be no question of the living entities engaging in the loving service of the Lord. Since love implies a spontaneous free choice by the lover. There can be a spontaneous love when you have option not to love. If there is a person and there is a girl, now that person, that boy, doesn't give choice to the particular girl. If you don't marry me, then I will kill you. Shoot out at first sight. Love at first sight, then shoot out at first sight. If you say no, does that girl have choice? No choice. If she wants to save herself, she has to say yes. Now, is this a spontaneous love or a forceful, imposed one? It's a forceful. There is no spontaneous love in it. Now, if the girl has lot of options, in Mahabharata there is a story of Nala and Damayanti. And Damayanti has many options to get married because she is so beautiful. Even the demigods are looking after to marry her. But she says, no, I am going to marry only Nala, the king Nala. Now this is called, in the material world, in that context I am explaining it, this is the love in this material world. Although she has never seen Nala, okay? So similarly, until and unless a person doesn't get an option not to love, there will be no spontaneous love. So that's why Lord Krishna gives various options. Worship demigods, worship some persons if you want, worship ghostly spirits also. Yanti deva vrata devan, yanti deva pritarvataha, bhutani yanti, bhuteja, yanti mad yagyanopi mam. If a living entity worships demigods, he will enter into the planet of that particular demigod. If he worships ancestors, then he enters into Pitruloka. If he worships me, then he will come to me. So Lord very clearly gives various options for every living entity. There is no force. Sometimes some people ask question that, are you forced, are you brainwashed to devote your whole life in Krishna consciousness movement? No, we are not brainwashed. There is every time there will be an option not to perform devotional service, not to chant attentively, not to read Bhagavatam. There is option always. But a living entity who is sincere in order to know Lord Krishna, he exercises this independence in order to please Lord. So that's why this is very clear. Until unless we don't have minute independence, there cannot be a spontaneous love. So the living entity infatuated with the false ego of the material body creates a fearful situation in which he undergoes repeated birth and death. So, because a living entity wants to enjoy in this material world, Lord is facilitating to enjoy. Sometimes some people questions that why Lord is helping a living entity to sense gratify, to enjoy his senses. Now here in this translation is written that the individual living being, the master of the material body, uses his material senses which have been activated by the super soul. The super soul is the one who is activating the senses. Without him, the senses are not going to get activated. That's why he is called Rishikesha, who is the master of the senses. The actual master of the senses is Lord Krishna. Rishika, Isha, Rishikesha. That's why the actual devotional service will be engaging these senses in the service of the Lord Rishikesha. When one practically engages his senses, that's why in all Srila Prabhupada's book, the bhakti is translated as devotional service. Something which is very active. The activity, there is activity in it. In material world, in the outside world, people think bhakti is something which is very sentimental and very easy thing. But bhakti is the most difficult path in this way that although the process is very simple, but living in the material world, not negating the material world, not showing false renunciation by giving up all your material activities, but engaging everything in the service of the Lord, that is very challenging. It's not so easy. You require a demonstration. You require a great philosophy for this. You required the commentaries of the acharyas, the help from the acharyas. You require the association of devotees. Now this is provided by our movement. This is provided by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. If the bhakti was so easy, then why Mayavadis? Why the different the Gyanis, why they are not accepting? Why the yogis are not accepting? So bhakti, the process is very easy. But to engaging everything in the service of the Lord, it's very challenging for the living entity sometimes. Because it's a borderline whether to enjoy the senses for ourselves or to engage the senses for the pleasure of Krishna. A particular object, whether to use it in the service of Krishna or in the name of the service of Krishna, enjoying that object yourself. There is a thin borderline. That's why it's sometimes this is challenging for some people. But our acharyas, and especially Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has demonstrated this path of bhakti in such a way that it is very sublime process for us. And here the living entity thinks himself and the enjoyer and creates a fearful situation. That's why the verse here quoted is Dvitiya Bhayam Dvitiya Bhinniveshatah Syat. This is the Srimad Bhagavatam verse from 11 to 37. So when in the material world, the living entity thinks himself as the enjoyer, automatically he creates a fearful situation for himself. Tadapnoti ihaya dukkham anihaya sukhavritaha. Till then the living entity doesn't plan. A small child never plans for his future. He's he's enjoying his life actually. He doesn't care how I'm going to maintain myself, how my school's fees will be paid. A small child is not concerned about that. The moment a living entity starts planning, the suffering begins. The suffering begins when the living entity starts planning for his own enjoyment. So that's why the learning thing is here, the moral is here that we should not plan for our enjoyment. We must do planning, but the planning for Krishna's enjoyment. How to spread the mission of Lord Krishna. how to follow the instruction of the spiritual master. In our spiritual life, it is very important to surpass these modes of nature, because this material world is full of these three modes of nature. त्रिभीर गुणमयर भावय एभी सर्वम इदम जगत. ये पूरा जगत जो है तीन गुणों से बंधा हुआ है. प्रकृति क्रियमाणानि गुणय कर्माणि सर्वशः. So to surpass, to transcend these three modes of nature is very important in order to avoid suffering. Rajasas tamasascha sattvam cha upashamena cha. From mode of ignorance going to mode of passion, then again coming to the mode of goodness, and then transcending the mode of goodness. This is a very difficult task. It's not so easy. But this can happen only by one teaching, only by one thing. What is that? Etat sarva guru bhaktya. Just by following the instructions of the spiritual master, just by pleasing the spiritual master, one can transcend the three modes of nature. We don't have to put a separate effort like a jnani. A jnani does a lot of analysis of those material elements, and he tries to differentiate himself from the material elements. This is not, this is not, this is not. I am the spirit soul, I am the spirit soul. But such type of knowledge doesn't have any tangible impact on his spiritual life. But just by pleasing a Vaishnava Guru, just what is his instructions? That's to engage in the service of Lord Krishna. Gradually, we can transcend these three modes of nature, and gradually we can come out of this fear and fearful situation and miserable situation of this material world. Now this is one part of this verse, that the individual living being consider himself as the enjoyer and engages his senses in sense objects in this material world. And the Lord directs him accordingly due to his desires. Because Lord says, Namit dveshastina priya, I am impartial. If the living entity desires, then accordingly I will direct. He just acts as a witness. Now the second part. Srila Jiva Goswami has given another explanation of this verse. If the word Prabhu is taken to mean the Supreme Lord, the word Gunaihi can be understood to mean good qualities. Since Guna can refer to the material mode of nature or to admirable qualities, so this verse would then mean that the Lord, by his transcendental qualities, such as mercy, is able to relish the transcendental qualities of his pure devotees. So there is a verse, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvai gunais tatra samasate suraha harav abhaktasya kuto mahad guna. A person who is a non-devotee of Lord Krishna, he may have several good qualities in the view of the materialistic people, but still Lord doesn't get pleased with that qualities. ऐसा नहीं कि मटेरियल वर्ल्ड के जो लोग हैं वो पूरी तरह खराब ही होता है, ये बात नहीं है. There may be some good people also. There may be some charitable people also. Very humble, very polite, very punctual. But all these qualities is not going to please Lord Krishna. And that's what Prahlad Maharaj in his prayers also says. Manne dhanabhijana rupa tapas srutaujas tejah prabhav bala paurusha buddhi yoga naradhanaya hi bhavanti parasya pumso bhaktya tutosha bhagavan gajajuta paya. Like Gajendra had no great qualities. Manne dhana abhijana rupa, he was not a very influential person, not very popular person, not very rich person, very austere like munis, like rishis. There are many such opulence, not very, great Pandit who knows all the scriptures or many scriptures. What Lord is looking for is only and only a devotion. Yamraj, when he speaks with his servants, there is a conversation in the Jamil story. Tan anayadham asata vimukhan mukunda pada ravinda makaranda rasada jastram evam vimrishya siddhiyo bhagvatyanante sarvatmana vidadate khalu bhava yogam temena dandam arhati. Don't punish them. Don't punish the devotees. Even if they commit accidentally some sinful activities, you are not supposed to go there. Temena dandam na arhati. Why? Because they are engaged in the Lord Krishna's service. Makaranda rasada jastram nishkinchanaihi. Because they are completely selfless. Their only and only their main goal is to please Lord. So Lord, first we have to understand we should not be in haste and consider ourselves and devotee and start committing sinful activities and considering, okay, Lord will take care of this. Now this is a deliberate attempt to commit sins. Okay? And now this becomes an offense. Naam aparadha. Hari naam ke bal par paap karna. So this offense will not be, it will not be ignored. So we should be very careful. But accidentally if we commit sins, due to flow, due to some habitual thing, sometime a devotee falls down, but still he doesn't falls down. A devotee never suffers from his previous karmic reaction. This is the opinion of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakurji. Now there are different karmas. In a Vedantic culture, in a traditional Vedantic way, they explain that there are three kinds of karma. One is Sanchit karma, second is Prarabdha karma, and third is Kriyamanam karma. Now the Sanchit karma is the stock of karmic reactions which you are going to suffer later on. Now these are the stock, a bank balance of your karmas performed in your previous lives. Now this is a bank balance of your karmas. Now someday or the other later on, you have to suffer that thing. For an ordinary person, I am talking about. Now there are second, that is Prarabdha. You have got the result of your previous karma. The result, what we are suffering right now itself. The material body which we get. Due to the part of your Sanchit karma is, this is Prarabdha karma. A part of your Sanchit karma becomes Prarabdha. This material body you get some habits from your birth only. In a family, a particular family you take birth. So this kind of reaction which you don't have any option, that becomes a Prarabdha. And now the third section, third kind of karma is Kriyamanam karma. A new karmas are generated. New activity generated to suffer again. There is an example. Like for example, if you buy a ticket of a flight and you get a boarding pass. Now this is the prarabdha that in a boarding pass, this flight is going to take off and it's going to land this particular time from Mumbai to Delhi. Now this becomes a prarabdha because you have bought a ticket. You have a boarding pass now. Now this cannot be changed. A crude example, this can be changed if there is some exception, but in an ordinary case, this cannot be changed. But in that boarding pass, it's not written that this particular passenger is going to talk with some businessman in the flight, or is going to eat some food, okay, and he's going to speak something, or he's going to fight with some passenger. This is not predicted at all. Now these are some karmas which are generated newly by us. Now, if he speaks with a business person or something, a person who is a businessman, and then there is a deal in the flight itself, now that is not specified in a boarding pass that you will have a business deal. Similarly, in this life, in this particular current situation, if we commit some sins, now some actions, this can be called as kriyamanam, which generates new results in this life or next life. So once again, there are three kinds of karma. Traditionally, this is explained in Vedanta's cultures. That's number one is sanchit karma, a stock of karmic reactions. Number two is prarabdha, the result which you got due to previous karmas right now. And number three, newly generated karmas, that is kriyamanam karma. Now again in the Padma Puran, this is a verse quoted by even Srila Prabhupada, that aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijan phalonmukam kramanaiva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. Now there are aprarabdha phalam, okay, जो प्रारब्ध में नहीं आए हैं, ऐसे कर्म, ऐसे फल, कर्म फल, वो क्या है? What is that? अप्रारब्ध फलम पापम कूटम, number one, first category is कूटम. बीजम, number two. Phalonmukam, number three. Now there are three types of karma which is aprarabdha, which you have not received the result yet. Okay. So aprarabdha phalam papam kutam. Kutam is those karmic reactions which are in dormant state. आपको भी नहीं पता है कि क्या आने वाला है आगे. Okay. It's in dormant state. It's hidden, not yet reflected. Now those due to your previous actions, these are there, and someday or the other it will come in a desire form and then in action form. So this is called kutam. Then the second, bijam, it's a seed form, okay? It's a desire of sin. When a desire of sin comes in your mind and you contemplate on that, there are times when a desire of sin comes in your mind, okay? We are all like me, I'm an ordinary person, so desire of sin comes in the mind. Now there are, even we have to differentiate in it. How? Now Yamunacharya says that yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padaravinda navanava rasa dhamni udyatum rantum asi tadavadi batanari sangame smaryamane bhavti mukha vikara shushtu nishthi vanamcha. When a thought of enjoying woman comes in my mind, my lips curl with distaste and I spit on that very thought. This is the opinion of Yamunacharya. Now Srila Prabhupada says, while explaining this statement in his lectures, that this is a sign of a pure devotee. A thought comes and you spit on that very thought. Okay? So the mind's nature, mind may sometimes due to, conditioning and all that it will try to agitate, by remembering something which is very nasty or something, some sense objects. But the moment you start rejecting it, that is a sign of purity. This is not considered here as a bijam, okay? This is not a desire of a sin. Now when the desire comes of a sin and starts contemplating on it, how to enjoy this desire, okay? And you start planning it in the mind. And the moment you get opportunity, you enjoy that. Now this is called bijam, the desire form, in a desire form. And the third part is phalonmukham. You are about to get the result in very near future, about to get the result. Okay? You are very close to it. There are some symptoms you are receiving now. Okay? You have performed the action, sinful activity, and you are going to get the result very soon. That is called phalonmukham. Again, once again, three types here explained, which are aprarabdha phalam. That is number one, kutam, that is karmic reaction in a dormant state. Bijam, karmic reaction comes in a desire form. And phalonmukham, you have already performed that sinful activity and the result you are going to get in the near future. That is phalonmukham. Now the main line is that Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam, one who is engaged in the service of the Lord, one who has a taste in the devotion of the Lord. Now that person, for him specially, Lord arranges to destroy all these aprarabdha reactions also. What to talk about? Sanchit karma, kriyamanam karma, and prarabdha karma. Even the karma which are not reflected yet, even those are destroyed by the Lord's mercy. Api chedasi pyapebhya sarvebhya papakitatama sarvam jnana api chedasi duracharo bhajate mam ananya bhag sadhur eva samantavya samyag eva vyavasito saha. So Lord Krishna considers even a person for a moment or for a time, he commits, a devotee who commits an abominable action, even that person Krishna considered that he is a sadhu because he is still engaged in the service of the Lord, and later and very soon I will liberate him from all the sins. So what is the difference? If a devotee commits sins and a non-devotee commits sins, a non-devotee commits sins, he will get the reactions as per the rules, as per the nature, as per the rules there prescribed in the scriptures. But if a devotee commits, Lord Krishna personally take his charge. Okay, like a mother punishing his son, her son, and an outsider or a government punishing a criminal. There is a difference in it. A mother, when punishes a son, okay, she punishes a son as a well-wisher. All the government also does with that mindset, but government has a particular framework of law, but mother doesn't have any framework of law. It's on her choice what sort of punishment I should give to my child. Okay, so Lord's punishment for a devotee is very different. So sometimes the question may ask, why the devotee is suffering then, if all the reactions are completely vanquished? The main reason is that due to offense, okay, due to seva aparad, nam aparad, dham aparad, one may suffer, or Lord Krishna wants to make that particular soul detached from this material world. Even for that thing also Lord Krishna gives some token of sinful reaction so that the devotee may not get attached with this material world. And for pure devotees, why the pure devotees are suffering? In order to inspire others. Even if a devotee is suffering due to health problems and different problems, but still he is engaged completely in the service of the Lord and completely remembering Lord, that gives an inspiration for a general mass of people also. So here in this purport, there are two sorts of, so here in the second part of this purport of the opinion of Jiva Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, is in the Ishvara, when it's Lord, then Lord becomes, Lord gets very attracted and he's conquered by the devotee, a pure devotee, and the Lord is attracted by the loving devotional service of his pure devotees and thus becomes entangled in the network of their loving relationship with him. Now there are two parts. Once again I will repeat and I will stop here. The first part is that Jiva as a Ishvara enjoying sense gratification in the material world and entangling himself in different species of life. And then the second part of this explanation is the Lord is attracted, the Lord as a Ishvara, attracted by the loving devotional service of the pure devotee and becomes entangled in the network of their loving relationship with him. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Any questions you want to ask? Yeah, yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the nice explanation about this. Karma, Sanchit karma. I heard two, Sanchit and Prarabdha. The third one I heard first time. Third one I heard first time, this Kriyamanani karma, I heard first time. So I had a question, Prabhuji. In the initial phase you mentioned that we should not misuse our free will. Otherwise we will be suffering. One would suffer if he misuses free will. He's either to serve Krishna or to be in Maya. That option he has. Not to do devotional service or to do devotional service. The option he has. My question is, what will inspire that jiva to always use his free will in a right way instead of going for the wrong way? Because we came here, the philosophy is that we want to enjoy, so we came here. So it's very obvious to do sense gratification, or it's very obvious to misuse the free will. So how to do this from here to
Okay. The question is that how to use our free will positively and not to misuse it. So what will trigger us to use our free will properly? Sir, the main thing is Sangha Sanjayate Kamaha. Okay? The association which we keep, that is very important to influence our free will. Okay? Yes, due to our previous reactions and due to our previous desires. Okay? Now I want to just cite an example. Narad Muni meets Kamsa. Okay? Narad Muni meets Kamsa and advises him to kill all the babies of Vasudev. Okay? The question may be asked here, how could Narad Muni's association Kamsa, such a demon, getting an association of a Narad Muni, a pure devotee? Okay? Now the Acharyas explain in this way that because previously, just before that pastime, Kamsa says to Vasudev, then I don't want to kill this first child, because I have fear from the 8th child. You take away this child. Okay? And now this created a punya for him. Okay? To receive the association of Narad Muni. So the reason here is that the main principle here is that the association of pure devotee gets due to your previous good actions, pious activities. Okay? Yesham to antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajate mam. There is no doubt, due to your previous actions, there are some pious activities we have done so that we are getting an association of devotees. Okay? And with that association of devotee, if you use it properly, if we be in association of devotees, then we'll definitely progress. So the main thing is that association which we keeps. Okay? And what sort of people, we get emotionally attached with them. Okay? Especially association means special emotional attachment I'm talking about. So attachment with Guru, attachment with some devotee who is completely engaged in the service of the Lord, that will safeguard our progress in devotional life. Okay? Thank you. Any other question? If you have one question, we will take and we'll stop here. Yeah. Last.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for enlightening us by your lecture. So you just mentioned this our previous karma, and you mentioned about this Kriyamanam. Can you elaborate more about this thing? Actually, I was little inattentive, so I could not understand this thing.
So I will repeat that. There are traditionally, it is explained in the Vedantic way that there are 3 kinds of karma. Number 1 is Sanchit karma. Number 2 is Prarabdha. Number 3 is Kriyamanam. So in a brief way, I will say and define in this way that Sanchit karma is a balance karmic reactions which you have, okay, which not yet enjoyed or suffered by you. It's a balance. It's a bank balance of that karmas. Number 2 is Prarabdha karma, the result which you have already received of your karmas, of a part of Sanchit karma. A part of Sanchit karma is already received, or already you are suffering in this life, especially example this body. Okay, we have received this due to our previous karma. This is called Prarabdha. Now you cannot change body. गोरा शरीर को काला नहीं बना सकते सर्जरी से, पर नेचुरली कुछ नहीं कर सकते. अगर बोना है तो उसको ऊंचा नहीं कर सकते वैसे. So there is no way out now. प्रारब्ध मिल चुका है. Now 3 is क्रियामाणम, is the newly generated action. कोई बोलता है कि नहीं प्रारब्ध के वजह से सब कुछ हो जाएगा, जो प्रारब्ध में लिखा है वही तो होने वाला है. No. If you generate some new actions, then you may have to suffer in this life also, can be, or next life. That is Kriyamanam, is a newly generated karma by you. Okay. Is it clear? Yeah. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavat Puran ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna.